Stop! Don't skip to the tier list directly. I know you want to know who are the best heroes in Mobile Legends and how good your mains are performing in the current meta. The list alone is not telling you the whole story though. You also need to know why certain heroes are performing better than others, which you will know after finishing this whole video. We will release a new tier list after every new patch, so make sure to comment about which hero I should talk the next time we release a tier list video. And also tell us your opinion about our ratings. Why our ratings? Well, this tier list was created together with Nacht, the starting XP laner from the North American based pro team 𝐷𝐴. So there's some true knowledge behind it. Let's begin with the XP lane and talk firstly about what even makes a good XP laner great. The best XP laner has the following abilities. They can cut the lane safely to rotate faster, they can overpower their counterpart in a 1v1, they have skills that allows them to rotate quickly to help in ganks, they can invade the enemy's jungle to steal creeps, and have great teamfight abilities, which means they can sustain the incoming damage when diving into the enemy's backline, zone out enemies, and have an ability to retreat again after bullying the enemy's MM mage. This is the tier list from the last patch, and this is the current one. Let's go over the changes and why they happened. On the S tier, nothing changed. Although Joy received a massive nerf, it pretty much only affected her early game pressure. She can't pop her extreme burst damage ult every few seconds anymore, but the scary damage is still there, as well as the 4 dashes and SCC immunity. At least for the XP lane, she's still a S tier hero. And about her jungle performance, we will talk later. Lapu Lapu though took a nice nosedive from the A down to the B tier. As I already stated in my patch notes video, the small nerf on his second skill survivability seems small, but it isn't. As you could see, his overall win rate dropped down to 46% after the nerf was applied. This close situations, when Lapu Lapu fights against multiple enemies, are just way harder to win for him now, which means he can't be as aggressive as he was before, which then means he just isn't as useful anymore than he was before. On the B tier we have 3 new heroes, Alpha, 𝐷𝐴, and Badang. Alpha got a really nice buff that lets him deal true damage non-stop, which makes him much stronger against tanky enemies on the XP lane. He's still lacking many of the traits a good XP laner needs, especially the ability to retreat after diving into the enemy's backline, and he's still very weak against CC abilities, but he still makes a huge jump from the F tier to the B tier. 𝐷𝐴 got the buff that makes her less item dependent and stronger in the early game, which is why she moved up a tier, and Badang was more or less misplaced by us in the latest tier list, as he has the ability to change the outcome of a game with one well-set ult, which is a trait not many heroes have. On the C tier we also have 3 new heroes. Uranus got a small damage buff which actually helps him to cut the lane, and Argus and Sun were moved up to honor the split push and escape potential. Now, I'd like to talk about the placing that was criticized a lot in the latest tier list. Freya, who is only a B tier hero. She can seem totally overpowered, and there are many matches where she has 15 or more kills. But the thing is, this only happens when you haven't picked any heroes with hard CC against her. Many inexperienced players just run blindly into her and expect that they can beat her down, which is not going to happen since she can overpower almost any hero in a 1v1. Mobile Legends isn't a 1v1 game though. If you have a heavy stunner paired with the burst hero in your team, she just becomes free food for your team as she can't dish out any of her damage. If you look at the heroes in the tiers above her, almost all have some kind of immune skill which gives them better survivability. She also can't really dive deep into the enemy's backline, nor can she cut the lane to clear it quickly to rotate faster, which are both traits a good XP laner needs. All of those reasons combined makes her a B tier hero, which, remember, means she is a good pick. If I would rank her as a D or F tier hero, there would be something off, but that's not the case here. Still, I encourage you to give us your opinion in the comments, as we will answer those questions in the next tier list, or even adjust our placing if we got one wrong, like with Badang. I also want to go through the F tiers. Zilong, Aulus and Aldog are just extremely weak and needs too long to scale. They will always lose their lane if the enemy is pressuring them. Barat's rotation is slower than his sloth, which also goes for Gacha, but additionally he has the slowest ult in history. I can brew myself a nice coffee, drink the whole pot and still have enough time to sidestep it. If Moonton wants to buff him, make the animation a bit faster and suddenly he becomes a pretty decent hero. Next we have the gold lane. A good gold laner must have the following attributes. If you play a marksman, they need to deal a nice amount of damage while being able to stay safe on their own throughout the whole match. If you play another hero, they are mostly there to keep the enemy's marksman as low as possible or have huge late game potential themselves. Here's the old list and here's the new one. Yeah, nothing really changed as there were no adjustment on any marksman except the Kimmy nerf, which wasn't enough though to rank her down a tier. So, I'd like to address the elephant in the room once again. Why is 1-1 the only S-tier hero, while other strong marksmen like Melissa and Brody are only A-tier heroes? Since many of you couldn't even be convinced by the stats from the pro scene, where 1-1 is by far the most banned hero. Let's compare Melissa and 1-1 as most people complained that she isn't on the S tier. They both have many traits where they are equally effective. Both have the ability to wipe out the enemy team on their own, both have very good survival skills, and both can dominate their counterpart in the early game. So, what sets them apart? Well, firstly, 1-1 has a free Purify spell every few seconds, which Melissa doesn't have. 1 hard CC is enough to wipe the floor with her, while 1-1 still has a chance to escape. Melissa is stronger when it comes to close combat fighting thanks to her ult and the increased defense, but as a marksman you shouldn't fight a close combat fight anyway, as you're squishy AF. And the increased defense can be negated by building Wind of Nature and Athena's shield. There's no assassin that has an easier time dealing with 1-1 than with Melissa. When it comes to the wipeout potential, Melissa can do it easier as she doesn't have to activate anything. But in exchange, she has no damage immunity which 1-1 has. The rotation from 1-1 is also much better thanks to her dashes. It's much harder to catch 1-1 than Melissa because of the dashes. And even in the fight on the lane, 1-1 beats Melissa. Whenever Melissa throws her doll and dashes, 1-1 just needs to move closer to Melissa and she's a free target. If you have any arguments where Melissa beats 1-1, let me know in the comments. But I haven't seen one valid point until now, which is why Melissa is only an A-tier hero. The same study could be done about the other A-tier heroes as well, but that would be boring, so I'd rather talk about why we moved Hanabi from the D to the C tier. Hanabi's biggest weakness point was always her survivability. In theory, she could always dish out an extreme amount of damage, but she was just way too easy to kill, which is why she was always a troll pick. Now with her CC immunity skill, she gained a bit more survivability, but the shield could be poked easily away. Now comes Aegis into play. In a gank situation, you can activate it to massively boost your shield and get instant CC immunity when you need it, as you get the immunity from any source and not only from your first skill alone. If you manage to set your enemies with your ult, they are becoming sitting ducks and you can damage them away in no time. Mia got ranked down simply because she can't keep up with the heroes on the C tier. Also, we have no troll heroes in this tier, because even the worst marksmen are somewhat usable now. Although we love shitting on Moonton, I think they did a pretty good job fixing the 4 marksmen of doom. Next we move on to the mid lane. A good mid laner is usually a mage who can support their team in all situations, whether it be ganks, objective fights or ambushes. Someone who can be a pain in the A for the enemy squishies, and someone who can clear minions fast so they are not stuck on their lane. Here's the old list, and here's the new one. Valentina went down a tier, as a nerf on her ult really hurts her, especially in the early to mid game. If she takes the ult from Faramis for example, the cooldown of her ult will be 96 seconds long, which is just insane. In exchange, we moved Eve up to the S tier, as she can support her entire team very well. A little warning though, it's easier playing her in higher ranks than in lower ranks, because it's a bit harder carrying 4 headless chickens with her. Novaria is a solid 80 hero in our opinion, because she can survive very well on her own and can be a pain in the egg with her long range attacks and her revealing powers. She has no hard CC abilities though, and the damage she deals herself is not high enough to make her an S tier hero. Now I saw many people questioning why Kagura is only a B tier hero, although she never received any nerf and was a meta pick before. It basically comes down to the fact that many heroes received either buffs or were newly released who are just better than her. Every hero in the S and A tier except Lunox has much better wave clear than her. But Lunox has the ability to clear the turtle and lord in a few seconds, which sets her apart from Kagura. In objective fights, she's not as useful as 𝐉𝐨, Eve or Xavier. In gank, she's not as powerful as Faramis, Kadita and Valentina. In the early game, she's not as strong as Lilia, and she doesn't have great support skills like Novaria. This is why, although Kagura didn't receive any nerf, she just slowly fell out of the top tiers because there are just better options nowadays. And for the F tier mages, God is just too easy to kill as his ult is stationary. He needs some kind of survivability effect like a shield when he uses his ult, because otherwise he will always stay a troll hero. Zaask need way too long to scale to become useful, and you can escape him by simply walking away. Any meta hero can easily deal with him. Eudora's clearing speed is also way too slow, and she's too reliant on squishies being dumb enough to walk into bushes solo. Plus she's also very weak when being ambushed herself, as she has no escape skill whatsoever. The same goes for Aurora, and Selena has by far the worst clearing speed in the entire mage category, which is why she's much better as a roamer. Next we have the jungle list. The jungle role itself is pretty complicated, as there are many things a jungler needs to be able to do. Securing major objectives, neutral objectives, out-farming the enemy's jungler, and also help the team in ganks. The jungler has the highest pressure in the team, as they has the most responsibilities on the entire team, but also the power to change the outcome of every match. Here's the list from the last patch, and here is the new list. As you could see, there were quite some changes. Joy went down from the S to the A tier, as the nerf hurts him more in the jungle because of slower rotation, less early game domination, and her clearing speed was always just meh anyway. This was just overshadowed by the rest of her kit that was OP. We also have a new A tier hero, which is Alpha. I will probably make a detailed video about him, which is not part of the 𝐿 Glory using every hero only once series, as I already used him there, because he just became really strong. Why I explained already for the XP lane list. Hylos also went up to the B tier, as he is an almost unstoppable force in the early to mid game, but not strong enough to solo carry an entire game. Also Hellcat is currently banned, but I still wanted to include him as he is a good B tier hero with his current kit. Bane, Guinevere and Camilla moved up to the C tier because of their buffs, while Cyclops was just forgotten in the last list. Basha went down to the D tier, as he really isn't that effective as he was a year ago. His pick rate of 0.07% says everything. And Aulus took a nosedive into the F tier, as he needs too freaking long to scale and can be invaded too easy. Next we have the roamers. A good roamer is either a tank that has good sustain, who has the ability to give vision to gain map control, and peeling is also a big thing for roamers. Peeling means you try anything you can to protect your ADCs. For example, checking bushes, staying in front of them, using all the abilities you can to protect your allies from diving enemies, etc. It can be also a support hero who brings different abilities to the table, like special skills that counter the enemy. Here's the old list, and here's the new one. Firstly, we have a new A tier roamer, which is our big cowman Minotaur. Although many Minnow mains are raging because they removed his trademark skills, he's just way stronger now, as he can support his team much better with his strong ult. I tested him out in detail in yesterday's video, which you should watch right now. See you over there!